watching ZTV on the Higher Learning Network. Put your hand back.
We're here live on the west side of Chicago, the best side, and we are celebrating tonight with the NAACP Man Up Initiative with guest speaker, Chicago's own west side, Mr. Robert Townsend. So you stay close. We're going to go up close and personal right here. On the west side, the what side, Robert?
The west side, the best side.
The best side of Chicago. You need to know that. And we're here at the Man Up Initiative with the NAACP. Robert Townsend, Chicago's own, brought the floor down this morning. In case you missed it, he will tell you a little bit. Just give us a recap of what they missed this morning.
This morning, my workshop was it was for all these actors, writers, directors at Columbia College, just kind of breaking down the ins and outs of how you make movies, TV shows. I had some actors do monologues, and so it was just a full day. We were supposed to stop at 1 o'clock, and we went on to about 2:30.
Yeah, it was about 2:30 because I think I got home about 3:30, 4 o'clock, something like that. What is it that you do in your quiet time? Because I noticed how important the breathing was, and I know breathing is important in meditation. So what is it that you do in your quiet time that allows you to continue the work that you do?
Well, I take time for me, and I take quiet time because I think a lot of times there's so much noise in life that goes on, from traffic, from the television, from the phone, and you got to find that time. And so I usually go out to Malibu, and I'll go out there and I'll meditate, and just pray for about 3 hours, and I'll always find, once a week, twice a week, I'll go out there and just find time for me and God.
Tell me this, what do you do on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I pray in the morning, and I'll just be real still, because I think sometimes you have to turn the television off. There's always something that's going to lure you to watch, and I have to fight with myself to turn it off, and then it clears your head if you can just have 15 minutes of quiet time.
So you're a TV addict too?
Oh man, that's why I'm in the business I'm in. I love it. So yeah. But I always try to find a little time for me and a little time to spend with God.
Now you talked a little bit this morning about how important it was projection, because I noticed that a lot of the students, they had talent, but they didn't project. Do you suggest that they take acting classes or voice classes or anything of that nature?
No, I totally suggest they take acting classes, voice classes, because a lot of them couldn't talk loud enough to fill the room. So, excuse me 1 second.
Okay. And he'll be back.
The store is called Plump. It's for the full-figure woman who has curves, size 12 and up. It is a consignment store coming to Bronzeville. So if you're not wearing it, we need you to consign it. So please come check us out. We're going to be open in late July, and we want your old clothes. Hi, my name is Roslyn Placid, and I'm from Plump, Chicago, and you're watching the Higher Learning Network.
He's a producer. Do you know what a producer does?
Ka-ching, ka-ching. You want to make anything happen, you need a producer in the house. So now he's an actor, he's a director, he's a producer, and he can make you laugh. Do you know that? He understands timing. He's got comedy down. Columbia College is so honored to bring actor, comedian, writer, producer, programmer, extraordinary human being, Robert Townsend, to you this morning. Mr. Townsend.
Well, first off, to everybody at Columbia College, thank you guys for having thank you guys so much for being here today. Getting up so early. I am a writer, director, producer, actor. I am from the west side of Chicago.
West side?
I grew up in K-Town, and a lot of people say, you know, like, how did you make it out of the west side of Chicago? Because a lot of times, you know, I'm here right now because of the NAACP and all the violence that's going on. So just a little bit of why I'm here right now. Yesterday, well, the day before yesterday, I went to the Juvenile Detention Center, and we talked to kids over there to talk about the violence and how do we stop the violence. Yesterday, I was at Cook County Jail to talk to the guys, and I showed one of my last films, In the Hive. Anybody see In the Hive film? It's In the Hive with Michael Clark Duncan, Loretta Devine, and we showed that to the inmates there. It's about at-risk kids, and we had an incredible panel with some ex-offenders to talk about how do we stop the violence. Then we went to Malcolm X College, and we had a screening of In the Hive for kids in the 6th and 7th grade to talk about stopping the violence and having a safe summer. Part of the mission for me, why I write, direct, produce, and do what I do. When I was a kid, I used to watch television a lot. I lived on the west side of Chicago. It was a rough neighborhood. I'd have to run home from school because there were gangs on every corner. And when I went home, all I did was watch television. I watched so much TV, they nicknamed me TV Guy. And I could do any and every show that was on television. Alfred Hitchcock, they filed the box in the alleyway and discovered that none. The Wizard of Oz, I'd be the scarecrow. Well, I never walked my place, it wasn't for you. You name a show, Bill Cosby, I Spy, because you know, you see the body was over there and the people found the body. I watched the foreign French films by Truffaut. I got discovered in the 5th grade because there was a teacher that wanted us to learn Shakespeare. I didn't like to read, and we had to read one scene in class, and I didn't want to read, and so I went to the library and I stole all the Shakespeare records. I don't know why. I went home, and this is where God steps in. For some reason, I started to listen to Othello, King Lear, Richard III. We had to read in that class one day, and he chose me, and I don't know why he chose me. Out of all the people, he says, Deborah Jenkins, we're going to be Oedipus. Deborah Jenkins, you'll be Ophelia. Willie Davis, you'll be Oedipus. Robert Townsend, you'll be Tiresias the blind prophet. Let's read. Deborah read like this. Oedipus, Oedipus, you will marry thy mother and kill thy father, the Oedipus. I had been listening to the Royal Shakespeare Company, so I read it like this. Oedipus, I pray not to rage upon thyself, let me quittest thee not. The whole class was like, ooh. That teacher, tall white dude named James Reed, said, Robert Townsend, come here. That teacher took me under his wings and basically said, because at the time we were on welfare, my father was not there, my mother raised 4 kids on her own, and that teacher started to instill in me what would become Robert Townsend. Cut to, I started theater on the west side of Chicago. No, I started on the south side at XBAG, Experimental Black Actors Guild. That's where I started with Mr. Payne Moonrami, with Chuck Smith, with Douglas Allen Mann, and I learned my manners in a 60-seat theater. It was a small theater, and the gentleman that ran the theater, his name was Clarence Taylor. He was a distinguished African-American man, tall, he was a school teacher, mustache, he talked almost with an English accent. He taught me my manners in that 60-seat theater in the basement of Hull House. And basically he would say this, and this is to everybody in the room, he taught me this when I was 17 years old. And he had this accent, he would say, a lot of you have your eyes on New York, and theater, and Broadway. But let me say this clearly. Your Broadway starts here. Your Broadway starts here. And that stayed in my spirit forever, because I did some of the best work as a kid actor on that stage at XBAG. Then I came to the west side of Chicago, and there was a place called Lamont Zeno Theater, the Better Boys Foundation on Pulaski. That's where I got the second part of my education, learning my theater manners. Being on time as an actor, knowing that you've got to be at the theater to be in character, to be prepared. I worked with young writer, director, producers that were of color, so that stayed in my bloodstream. let's talk about the journey. So I studied at Second City here. I studied, with Paymoon Rami. I studied at all the different places in Chicago. Then I went to Illinois State University. Yes? Thank you, girl. At Illinois State University, I had an experience that changed my life forever. I was in the theater department, and I'm coming out of Chicago. At that time, I had done 2 movies. I did Cooley High, got my first 2 lines in a little basketball scene, and then I was an extra in Mahogany behind Diana Ross on the welfare line. So those were the 2 big moments for me. But at Illinois State University, I had an experience that changed my life forever. I was so excited about theater, and I was so excited about New York, because I wanted to be the best, and the best actors, they said, came out of New York. So I'm in class, and there was this teacher, and I'm like a little kid, like a sponge, I'm like, tell me about New York. Tell me about New York. How's it? Are actors in New York different? How do you audition? What's an audition like? How do you do it? And the teacher said, stop. Stop. Don't ask me about New York ever again. You don't have what it takes to make it in New York. It shook me to a core. I walked around that campus for about an hour and a half, because nobody had ever talked to me like that. And I was kind of like, I won't make it. She said, I won't make it. It got into my spirit for about a second, and then I shook it off. I walked around the campus in a daze, and I ended up in front of the student exchange office. And it says, transfer to anywhere in the country with another student, anywhere you want to go. And I go into the office and I say, I want a school in New York. Any school in New York. We don't have a school in New York, we have a school in New Jersey, I'll tell you. I transferred to William Patterson College in Patterson, New Jersey, and I left that school in 1 semester because of that teacher. At that William Patterson College, it was 20 minutes from New York, so then I started to study the Negro Ensemble Company with James Earl Jones, and at the time, Sam Jackson was there, other people were there, we all became friends. I studied with Marlon Brando's acting teacher, Stella Appel. So I'm in New York City, I'm going back and forth, and then this is where, for all my actors in the room, this is where life changed again. I started doing extra work. I was extra in a lot of movies. I did extra work on All My Children behind Erica Kane. I was an extra in The Wiz. I did different extra. It was hard times in New York as well. A lot of my boys were going through it as well. And so for all my actors in the room, there's going to be days that it's going to work and there's days it's not going to work. There was one time we were all at the unemployment office. No, we were at the Actors Equity Lounge getting ready to go to the unemployment office, and there's all these actors in there. And one of my boys shows up, and he's not having a good week. I was like, how you doing, man? He was like, oh, man, this Hollywood stuff, man. I can't get no theater work, man. I can't get no jobs, man. It's crazy, but I'm just trying to work on my craft. And I'm like, man, just keep your head up. Just keep your head up. Yeah, man, well, let me go to this unemployment office, man. My unemployment's about to run. I got to get some extensions, man. Keep your head up, man. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Remember who you are. You're Denzel Washington. Stay up. So, I had another turning point in my life. I think it came out okay. I had another turning point in my life. And this is for everybody in the room when you hit a wall. I hit a wall, he hit a wall, I hit a wall. My mother said, anytime money gets funny, things get crazy, go to church, pray, stay focused, find an answer, seek the answer, you shall find the answer. That Sunday, everything was going wrong. I was about to give up, and I was like, this is not working. Let me get out of this. Right now, because now as the house is fully getting here. You are a actress, a comedian, talk to me about the hustle in Hollywood when you first decided that you wanted to do something in this industry. What is that for you? Because everybody here is on a journey and trying to figure it out. How did you figure it out, and when did you figure it out?
Actually, I have not really figured it out, which is why I'm here, but
No, but see, here's the thing. You've been able to do movies. See, what we have to understand is that not everybody will get to make movies. Not everybody will get on a television show. So I take nothing from anybody, but I just want to know, because some people will say, you did that movie, you did that TV show.
Okay.
What is the journey?
okay, the journey for me is continuous. It is one today. People like Robert Townsend listening. This is part of the prep. One thing you said that was so important is you speak out of your mouth. It really, you make it happen. And if you put it in your mind and you decide it's going to happen, it really does. It might not happen the way you decided it was going to happen, but it is going to happen. I figured that out.
Right.
I do know that I am in control of what I decide I'm going to do. In Hollywood, it's just, it's a different animal for me being a West Sider. And it took me to be in character half the time to deal with some of the things I dealt with. Because in reality, I believe we all are in character half the time. You don't do the same things outside the house that you do inside the house. You know, some of y'all come out with a bag on your head. That's minimal. We talk about the major things. I think that the most important thing is actually knowing that you're going to do it and just setting forth to do it. I mean, you know, no matter where the path takes you, walk that path. I love this red, white, and blue hair. Somebody just teased me about this hair roll in my head. This one here. I said, this is my blue, red, and white Pepsi cap. But I didn't deliberately do it. This was actually my hair.
What's it like? I want to ask you, what's it like to audition? For those that have not auditioned for a Hollywood movie, what's an audition like for you?
For me, it's intimidating because I had to learn to not internalize that these people are judging me. They are. That's what they are doing. However, I can't feel bad if they choose to go in another direction. I don't have a thick skin, and that's something that they tell you in Hollywood. You have to be able to take rejection. And I wasn't good at that. That strengthened my ability to accept rejection when I went into those places. So again, it didn't happen the way I wanted to, but it happened. There was a day I wouldn't walk into an audition. Auditions can be frustrating, they can be intimidating. You question yourself a million times after you leave, but if you walk out that door and say, I am her, which I did, I was Tricks and Players Club. When I auditioned for Players Club, I knew I was Tricks. I went and got a red wig.
So you got your own props, you brought your own stuff in?
I bought a dollar bill tattoo. I had it put on my arm. I had a tattoo on my stomach. I rolled my shirt up. I went in there, and I was Tricks. Tricks was supposed to be an overweight, old lady, real old fat Trick. And Ice Cube told me this after the fact. They was like, you rocked the audition, so we gave it to you. We didn't care that you wasn't fat, you know. You was Tricks, and you made it what you wanted to. You do what you set out to do, even if it don't go the way you decided it to go. In your fantasy, you make it happen. You just go out there and say, this is gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. And you try not to feel rejected if it don't happen the way you chose it to happen.
Anything else that you would say to them is, if somebody's starting out, the lessons that you learned, like where you hit the wall and said, okay, I learned from this that if I had to do it over again, this is something that I learned in the process. It could be anything, like for example, I'll give you a story. Halle Berry, when I was directing her in Baps, we were looking for somebody to play her best friend. And at the time, they wanted me to just grab anybody that had a TV show, because at least they could get on Johnny Carson or Arsenio's show, or what have you. Halle was going through the worst period in her life. She was going through a divorce at the time with David Justice. And so for me to do a comedy with Halle Berry at that time was kind of really, you know, crazy, because she wasn't in the best spirits, but you know, I had to, as a director, you gotta work. So I had all these auditions for everybody, and there was one girl that Faison loved. You know, he says, man, there's a girl in my acting class named Natalie DeSalle that I think would be right to play Halle's friend in Baps. Did y'all see Baps? Yeah. And so I go to Faison's house. He has Natalie come over, and Natalie, you know, we do an improv for 2 hours in Faison's house, and we just go through this improv. And so then I go, Faison, you're right. This girl, Natalie DeSalle, she ain't never done nothing before. She's perfect to play Hallie's best friend. So, cut to, I go to the studio and they say, Robert, are you crazy? We could get one of the girls from Living Single and it'd be more press, more publicity. But I said, I think she's going to have chemistry with Hallie, and so I just need to get her in the room with Hallie. And so we set it up, and I tell the studio, I go, I'm really believing in her. He says, Robert, we might go after one of these girls, half the girls in Hollywood. So this is what I want to say in terms of what I learned. I get to the audition late because I'm scouting locations, and when I get there, they got all the actors in Hollywood, and then they got Natalie there, and Natalie's looking like this. So then, come here, what's wrong? You know, and she goes, Robert, I know all these people from television and the movies and everything. You know, I don't know if I belong here. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know. I said, Natalie, just stop. Just be you, be true to you, walk in the room and just do you. So, all the other girls come in, I give the courtesy because I don't like to waste people's time, and some of them came in the room wrong right away because they go, Hallie, I'm so sorry about your divorce. And that's a bad way to start a comedy. Hallie goes to someplace else and the room is empty. Natalie comes in and she's just as sweet as she's in the movie Babs, where she goes, oh, you for real? You know, that is Natalie. So they have this beautiful chemistry. The studio says, we want her, Robert, you're right, and then Natalie got her first movie opposite Halle Berry because of that. The thing I say to you is that in that waiting area, sometimes people sabotage themselves because they go, he want a light-skinned actress, he ain't gonna go after dark-skinned actors, he want a big actress, a skinny actress. Do you go through that when you're out there waiting sometimes, you know, like when you have to audition?
I actually don't do a whole lot, but I did go through that one time in my mind, but that, when I came in, when I left, I really got on the things that I thought would make me get the part. I decided I would get it, and I got it.
So it was really you taking your own destiny in your hand.
Correct. That's why I love when you speak those words. They are powerful. I think they should just take out those cell phones at that time and really get their own and listen to it over and over. You make the decision. It's on you. If you sitting there right now saying they talking all that stuff, but I bet you this ain't gonna happen, then you're right. You might as well leave now. You have to do it. You have to decide you're gonna do it, and that's the bottom line. I learned that from Robert Townsend. This yesterday, you just reinforced it when you said two things to me about, hey, listen, don't let diamonds.
Give it up, Dale. I called every actor that I had ever auditioned against, and I said, hey, I think you're good. You want to jam with me? Hey, I think you're really good. You want to jam with me? And I got together 83 actors. And because of my theater training here in Chicago with X-Bag and the Montezino Theater, I had been around men and women of color that were in charge and understood how to direct and write and produce theater. So I used the same technique for creating a movie. Hollywood Shuffle was done in 12 days.
Wow.
12 of the hardest days of my life. I am writing, directing, producing, doing craft service, driving the equipment truck. I understand every position, every role, because now craft service means something to me because I'm paying for the chicken on the table. You had 2 pieces. Good for you, that's enough. Back then, we had to shoot with what you call short ends. Who knows what short ends are? Okay, a lot of you don't. Some know, some don't. There was a time when there were actual film, like in a camera, you had actual film. And a magazine to shoot is 10 minutes long. And maybe the scene is 6 minutes long. So you shoot and you have 4 minutes left over. So from Soldier Story, I asked the director, Norman Jewison, for all the leftover film. And so we took the short ends and made Hollywood Shuffle. So we load the film up. It's really difficult. It's really hard. We shot the film in 12 days. I scouted my locations, totally different. I would look for locations where the police couldn't see the camera. Couldn't see the camera. This is a good location. This is a good location. We shot in 12 days. I had never done a call sheet. I just told everybody to here's the thing, and I guess it's my upbringing in Chicago, understanding the streets and being and hustling. I knew that half the world is asleep on Sunday morning, so I made a call at my house at 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody got to the house. We shot our locations that morning because the police would be slow. Some people would be going to church, but half the people would be coming home from the club or at home, and nobody would be on the streets. I shot all my stuff outside. I figured it out on every level. As a writer, you know, and this is what I would say to everybody in the room. Keenan and I were always hard on each other. We wrote, you know, Partners in Crime together. We wrote, you know, Hollywood Shuffle together. We wrote The Five Heartbeats together. Now, a lot of people go, you know, hey man, those movies, you know, Heartbeats is a classic. But what you don't know behind the scenes is that we did 25 drafts. We would go at it again and again. No, Choir Boy shouldn't do that. And things happen in the story. As a writer, let me say this, you've got to be able to move and flow. Choir Boy. Do you remember the scene in the film where Choir Boy loses his Bible? Yeah. And then all of a sudden he goes, he's Anthony Stone, and he gets really cool. Remember that? Yeah. Okay, that happened because one of my best friends broke my heart. One of my best friends is really close to me. I was writing the script, and we were in the office, and I flew him out from New York to work on the project. And the girl that I was going out with at the time, Carol, I was coming home from writing, and then Carol was in the house, and I said, oh, he's going to be so good at the movie. Oh, man, he's going to be so good playing Choir Boy. And she went, And I was like, what's that, She says, no, Robert, I don't want to get into it. And I said, well, what do you mean you want to get into it? He goes, well, he's a little different when you're not around. I said, really? I said, did he hit on you? He goes, Robert, I don't want to get into it. He's your boy, but you know, that's your boy. I don't want to get into it. I said, no, we got to get into it, you know. So she said, you know, hey, he's getting caught up in Hollywood. He's getting a little lost. He likes the premieres more than you. He doesn't want to do the work. He's about this, and he did hit on me, and I don't know how to bring it up because it's uncomfortable, but I thought, you know, and I go, no, it's not cool. So this is the day I lost one of my good friends because I called him to my house and said, man, we got to talk. And he had such an innocent, beautiful spirit that Hollywood started to get into his bloodstream. He started to change. And I remember the day he came to my house and I looked deep into his soul and I said, did you hit on Carol? And I remember it like it was yesterday because his eyes went in slow motion like, no. No. And I go, oh shit, he's lying. Oh my God. Now, I went back because I was writing the script and I said, Choir Boy's going to get lost. He should lose the Bible. Oh my
Latifah, and you're watching ZTV on the Higher Learning Network. Get your head right.